We're not quite ready to put the fabric on yet, but we can get it cut out and get it ready. Now the other fuselage, the fabric was put on in 4 pieces. The bottom, of course, goes on, and then they put a piece along the main longerons, and then on both sides, and then they put a piece over the top. The fabric's not wide enough to go over the whole airframe from one side to the other over the top. You have to splice it someplace. There's no structure along that top. Those tubes along the top are not considered structure, although these are steel tubes welded in. The regular pieces on there would either be wooden stringers run along there or aluminum ones run along there, and they're not structural, and they're not wide enough to glue to. So you can't put a seam there on that top up there. So you can't splice the fabric there. You can't join the fabric up there with a glue seam. What we'll do is just lay out this fabric on this side like this, mark it, cut it, and then cut an identical piece for the other side, and Judy's going to stitch them together on the sewing machine. So that's what we're laying this out for. Fabric will be glued on the top of the vertical fin and around the back side of the vertical fin, and then we'll just have a sock, a blanket that fits over the rest of it, and it goes up here just above the passenger seat, and then there's a window from there forward on the top, so that runs around the main crossbar there and is glued in, and then comes down this side around the windows, around the door frame, and then it just goes forward just in front of the door frame there and glues onto that. Of course, wraps around the bottom. We'll put the bottom fabric on first, and that'll wrap over that lower longeron, and then the upper fabric will overlap that bottom fabric. One of the advantages of having this fuselage rotator now is we've got that fabric laid out up there, and it's kind of a reach to get up to the middle to mark it where we want the cut to go, so I can just rotate that fuselage 90 degrees and lay it over, and that way we can get over to the other side or up to the top of it and work on it real easy. I have to be careful now rotating that fuselage that I've got the vertical fin on there, because that takes a lot more room, and if I'm not careful and pull that fuselage out on this side, I'm going to roll it over the other way, and if I'm not careful and pull it out on this side to roll it over, then the vertical fin's going to hit the wall on the other side, or the shelves on the other side. We're getting things ready here to do the fabric. We got the benches all cleaned up there and washed them down with paint thinner and lacquer thinner, and got them all cleaned up. And got this table out for Judy to work on. Got her sewing machine down here. She's tuning it up, got it oiled up, so we're running it a little bit, make sure the oil gets through everything and we get it wiped up. That's her workstation, and of course we got the fabric laid out there. We haven't marked it yet, so we'll get it marked and laid out here, and we can get it cut and the other one cut to match it.
Is it going to cut both layers at once?
Yeah, it could.
Okay. Rotary pinking shears.
And we get the fabric cut out into the shape, hopefully, and we folded the edges over into a French fell seam, and we just touched them with the iron just to make a good crease on there. And now Judy is stitching it all together with pins, so she can get it in the sewing machine and sew it up. It's got a little round tube, shipping container tube, that she puts underneath it there to help put that seam together and get it straight, get it flat, to put the pins in it, because it's kind of a complex seam. She's almost done with the first row of stitching, doing good on there, just about got that one done. Then we'll run it through again. I don't know what the we is, I'm not doing anything except standing around watching, but anyway, we'll run it through and put another row of stitching on the other side of that seam, and that'll be all done. There it is, the first seam, the first half of the seam, the French fell. So she'll make another row of stitches down the other side of this, just like the seam on a pair of jeans, the side seam on a pair of blue jeans. It's pretty nice. Had a little bit of trouble because we got a curve here as it goes, comes down off of the tail and off the vertical fin, and then comes around that curve there. So she had a little bit of trouble with the curve. It was all good. The first row of stitching is done on that, so I just threw it up there on the airplane to check it out, and that looks really, really good. That's going to be really pretty nice. Seam is just perfect there. Okay, the stitching on the fabric, the seam is all done, and it looks pretty darn good. It's going to be laying there a lot better than, we'll just, it'll run right down that seam, or right down that backbone, right up there. And it goes right up the tail. It'll tack on there real good, and then of course the tail up there would just, it just gets glued on, folded over and glued to the tail. So, there it is. Fabric sock is made. Now all we have to do is cover it.